Hey guys, Thomas the Solid Gene here, aka Mustached Tom, and welcome to the Halloween review as I take a look at Terrifier 2. This is, of course, a full movie review, so if you end up enjoying the full thing, then please feel free to look at the description. I'll head you over, and when they're there, you can go over to my petition, which can help out small YouTubers. Second and third, we'll head you over to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth, to my Discord server, where you can join and find other smaller YouTubers and connect and collab there as well. And shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that shilling out of the way, let's get into Halloween's special, Terrifier 2. So, I saw the trailer for this movie quite a few times before, and more notably, I saw some more articles about this movie rather than the actual trailers, saying that this movie was a very gruesome movie. And to save the trouble of anyone who is in doubt of that, this movie does have some killing, and the blood and guts does show, so if you're not a fan of the whole seeing people in the whole blood and guts thing, I probably wouldn't recommend this movie for that particular audience that is, that isn't a fan of blood. But I am also here to be as objective as possible, which might actually hurt the movie even more, objectively speaking. So, we start out with our plot now. In the hood of the streets, as we see our clown friend named Art walking away with some what seems to be remnants of the first movie of him continuing to attack this man who's pretty bloodied up already. He paints his name on the wall so that way you know his name is Art. And he sees this alternative, smaller clown that's in his head. I'm gonna assume based off of the when we see other people's perspectives that it's in his head, but sometimes it's in other people's heads, question mark. Yeah, this movie gets a little bit weird. I'm gonna say that too, right now. But he goes for the attack, and as I mentioned, the attacks in this are pretty blood-rich. So again, rips out his eye even. So Art goes to the wash, and he proceeds to get his clothes washed out. This is where he sees again that fellow smaller female clown. So they kill the person in there as well, or he does primarily, I should say. So he's messing around with the girl clown, playing some games, and as he's exiting, we see the guy who's in there dead. We then cut to our, for the lack of better term, we finally cut to our main character for all intents and purposes, Sienna, who seems to be some sort of, I thought was going to be a cosplayer based off of this, but it is on Halloween. But she does make a pretty good costume, I guess, so I don't know which it is. I don't know if she's just a general cosplayer outside of Halloween, but whatever. Anywho, she goes to her mom, looking around, and we also have her brother, who's Jonathan. And he wants to dress up as Art Clown as well, which brings some animosity, slight at best, at the table. We learn that her friends are Allie and Brooke. That she herself is looking for some work. And she even does the little hat for her brother. and we cut to this vision or night terror. I don't know what it is, but we're suddenly at this clown cafe, and we see Art come out and present all these gifts to all these people. And when it gets to her, because she's in this sort of dream state, she gets gifted a blood heart. Art then pulls out a machine gun and proceeds to blast off out all the other people in this dreamscape thing, including the kid that was just eating some cereal. She wakes up, and when she awakes, her costume is on fire. She apparently left the candle on, but she does not remember any of that, so something to her feels awful about all of it. But the mom is worried and is yelling at her. Bizarrely, the sword that she had on her, or she was making, is perfectly fine, or that she was given. This will come into effect later on, in a weird way, but let's hold on for that for now. Anywho, we cut to Art building his own weapons. And we also see something remnant of the first movie. We see the survivor talking on this newscast very briefly. Anyway, we cut to school where we see Jonathan meet up with his two quote-unquote friends, and then they show him a dead possum, and then they show this other girl, and the girl runs away, and the teacher also spots it and tells them to clean up. Jonathan proceeds to see Art alone. He runs off, and we see later on that the teacher finds the dead possum in the hallway without Art there. So she just assumes that it was Jonathan. Meanwhile, Sienna begins to talk to her two friends, and she has her own little freak-out moment. As she eventually makes her way to this shop to get some new pair of wings. The one she had made had been burned away, so she goes to this shop. We also see that Art is also now at the shop. He proceeds to mess with Sienna for a pretty mean while. All this to say that the clerk sees some of this, and he's like, yeah, I'm just doing my job, I guess. It's only until she buys her item, and then he's like the only one remaining, where the clerk suspects that this clown is just up to something. But it's too late, as she already left the shop and he's left alone to his devices. Art attacks this guy, cutting off his head in the very process. So, Sienna checks in with her brother, and he tries to warn her that the whole clown thing is frail, and that, he's very much alive. Even though that she saw him, she still doubts him for some reason. Okay, so there's that. So he tries to tempt her to stay home, but that doesn't work, clearly. This is where, later on, we see the clown arrive at her home via the trick-or-treating. And this is where she gets a glimpse at all of his little weapons. I think. But I didn't write the notes of what happens between her seeing this and her maybe she just thought it was something else, I don't know. Anyway, she dresses up after the fact in her Valkyrie costume is what she dresses up as. Thus, they see that this woman checks the this broken window and calls. And while, she could call the police, I wrote in my notes, she doesn't proceed to do so. Or move, for that matter. Thus giving Art ample opportunity to attack her. Viciously, mind you. She survives quite an ordeal. Probably the most brutal attack on her, this mother character. As she's attempting to crawl to a phone, finally, after being brutally attacked and not after seeing a broken window into her own home. And he returns to finish the job. Art does. So, Sienna checks in with her mom. I think, I didn't write in my notes, but this is like one of the other characters' moms that he was attacking, essentially. So anyways, we see here the clown attack the other friend as well within the same house. She also sees the broken window, also gets attacked very similarly. But we then cut to the party where we meet the other friend's boyfriend, JF. And we're at a little dance party now with all of our friends, none the wiser. Meanwhile, while Art's at the friend's house, the other one, the one that's dead, he proceeds to give out candy with using the mom's head, and none of them figure that out. They just think it's a prop. Anyway, the main character's mom, Sienna's mom, checks in with Jonathan and is pretty upset with him, thinking that all the things that were happening because of him. She even rips apart his little book where he's trying to say, like, all the stuff is connected. He runs from home, and she hears a noise, and the mom goes to see that the car is all messed up, so she's even more upset. And Jonathan continues to run, and this is where it gets bizarre, because now he sees the little clown girl. So the mom is attempting to call, and it doesn't get through, because Art blows off the mom's head with a shotgun. Meanwhile, Sienna has a freak out of her own, another one. As well as, on the other end, Jonathan also returns home to see that the mom has died. He arrives there first. Art comes in, making his howdy-do. And Jonathan does that thing, like, that you see in old horror vintage movies where he does just stand there, and it was kind of, it really reminisced me of the moment of the, I forget what the movie's called. I think it was like Goblins 2, or it was something like that, because it was like with the town when you spell it backwards, and then it would spell like Goblin or something. And then it had the guy that was like, oh my god, first you're gonna eat her, then you're gonna eat me. That guy, where he just stands there while he's saying that. It's like that, but he does, this Jonathan character just stands there like, oh, and doesn't do anything else. For a chunk of time that could have been used running. So, this gives Art the opportunity to knock out John, which is why I bring this up. So, Sienna is hanging out with Brooke and her boyfriend still. We see the clown has the ability to imitate voices, I guess, and calls up with John's voice to swindle all three of them into heading elsewhere, into the Terrifier clown place. And Sienna eventually heads off on foot. She's trying to text him, her brother, ends up in the haunted house, while leaving Brooke and her boyfriend behind. So Sienna is off to the Terrifier exhibit. All the while, the boyfriend leaves to take a piss. Art takes advantage, going after the boyfriend. Then Brooke sees this, gets attacked briefly, but she is able to run a little bit here. Making sure her phone isn't working either, so she runs off, or sort of limps away after her attack. Meanwhile, Sienna's looking for both of them at this point, and Art's not doing too far behind Brooke. And she's not doing so hot after a special attack, let's say, with a spiked club to the face. In fact, I don't think you live through that type of attack, and indeed, Sienna finds Brooke dead. But Art's waiting there for her now, Sienna. So Sienna goes on the attack, and Art is able to overpower her, but leaves her alive for the time being. As we cut to John, who's hiding, and Art's focusing on him. And Sienna struggles getting his weapon. He's still trying to attack John. So she's able to sneak up and hit him with a club. Does not proceed to, go all crazy, which had a perfect opportunity to do so, but again, people just are stupid in this movie. So she just hits him once and runs away with him. Where she proceeds to grab a new weapon. She moves ahead while, get this, she tells Jonathan to stay behind. Why? I don't know. He ends up being in the same room, eventually. But this causes her to want to fight back again. So they're at it at round 2. And again, she could just, do the good old double tap on her weapon, but doesn't do so. So Art comes back for more, and John this time comes in for the save. And even shoots Art this time. This is where Sienna sees a vision of her mom, I guess is the best way I can put this, and even gets visions of her death. This little distraction. Going after Art after the fact, seeing her brother all down. She gets pushed down into this pit, though, in the process of trying to do all that. And Art stabs Sienna. So, he drops the sword and focuses back on John. Sienna, being dead for all intents and purposes, ends up in the nightmare place we saw earlier in this water box. All the while, Jonathan wakes up, and this causes the sword that she was holding, and I kid you not, begins to light up with a energy and begins to heal Sienna. With zero setup to that being a thing that could potentially happen, but it does. So she dies and comes back to life after drowning, clearly. So, Art is, on Jonathan attacking. But Sienna comes back for the trifecta. This time cutting off the head to make sure the job is done. But they see that the little clown girl's there who takes that away. This wood is where the credits are, by the way, but we have a little extra here at the end of the credits where we see Dr. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, who's like fraternizing with this other doctor, I guess. I don't know. But they're very distracted, and we see the woman who is injured essentially holding on to Art's head, who looks very much alive with just a head. And that was Terrifier 2. Bloody, gory, all that good stuff, but, boy, did I not expect people to come back to life, that's for sure. With zero setup to that, and how far away that removes it from the real world. Nightmares notwithstanding, I can understand you can do some pretty cool stuff with nightmares, and I'm fine with the nightmare scene. That's all fine and good, but killing a character and then bringing her back, that's sort of like, now you're just cheapening the movie, quite frankly. On top of all of the characters' stupid decisions, like not calling the police, standing still when you could have moved out of the scenario by any number of time. Yeah, so, a lot of stupid. So if I were to give it an overall score, I'd probably settle for like a 4 out of 10, or probably somewhere around there, maybe even a 3, I don't know, somewhere around there, excuse me. And yeah, that is my review for Terrifier 2. And if you ended up enjoying this full review, once again, you can please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. The first will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, fourth to my Discord server. Any and all donations and support help support me and my channel directly. And you can join my Discord server to help and find other YouTubers along the way. And with all that out of the way, that is my review. And, happy Halloween, all that good stuff and whatnot. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.